So good afternoon, everyone, or good midday, or mid-afternoon, or early afternoon, sorry. My name's Andrew. I'm from the GSA Student Engagement Team. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today, or virtually meet at least, where I'm presenting from, which is the Yuyang clan of the Boonwurrung, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded in these lands. And we'll continue now. So today, we're running a GradChat, which is support for international students, and we have Yang Liu, who's a counsellor and social worker at CAPS, who has worked in universities in China, the US, and Australia, and as a member of both international student and LGBTQIA plus communities. Yuyang has particular interest in the well-being and unique challenges faced by these groups. Welcome today to our session.
Thank you, Andrew. So, you know, I was just having a brief conversation with Andrew, and I'm pretty happy to be here today because I treasure every opportunity to chat with people nowadays. It definitely helps my mental well-being. So let me briefly introduce myself. So my name is Yang, and I'm an international student counsellor at Counselling and Psychological Services in this university. And I work a lot with international students, and I have been an international student myself for many, many years. So I do understand the unique challenges faced by our community. And, you know, the recent couple of months is quite a unique experience for everyone. Our ways of life have been changed significantly. And we probably had never spent so much time in our homes by ourselves or with, a limited number of people. So it is perfectly normal to feel a bit lonely at this point. Because, our innate needs of connecting with others are difficult to meet under the current circumstances. But being alone doesn't necessarily mean being lonely. So today we're going to talk about ways to help us stay engaged while in isolation. Okay, so let me show you my slides. Just a moment. Okay. Let me know if you can't read my slide. Okay. Okay. So this is our topic today. So stay engaged while in isolation. So first of all, I want to share with you about my personal experience related to isolation and loneliness. So I spent 2 years in Minnesota for my master's study in counseling psychology. It was my first time study abroad. So during these 2 years, I spent most of my time studying, working, and volunteering. And I did most of these things by myself. So I spent most of my time by myself, and I had minimal social time with only maybe a handful of people. But when I think about that time, I didn't feel lonely at that time. And when I think about why now, and I think it's probably because I was moving towards a direction I feel passionate about. And I had a handful, not many, but a handful of friends I can cry and share deepest feelings with. So even though I'm alone for most of the times, but I feel well connected with myself, and I'm well connected with a sense of purpose. And there's another time in my life when I was working in a consulting company, and I was quite busy. And I had social interactions with countless people in the field and hundreds of people in my contact list. But I feel quite lonely at that time. And when I asked myself, is this the kind of life you want to live? And I don't know how to answer that at that point. So I knew that important pieces of puzzle are missing in my life. So I need to change. All right. So I want to share this experience with you because this is the experience that made me realize that being alone doesn't equals to being lonely, and being with people doesn't guarantee a sense of belonging. So what are the differences and connections between being lonely and being alone? So, first, being lonely is a subjective feeling, while being alone is an observable fact. And we can choose to be alone, but we rarely hear people say, I choose to feel lonely. And also being alone can be perfectly healthy if we enjoy and appreciate solitude. For example, I like to think myself as an introverted person, and I need to spend time with myself to gain energy. And being alone gives me time to think, to reflect, and to gain perspectives about myself and other things. So if I use my time to connect with myself, then I may not feel so lonely when I'm alone. But nevertheless, spending too much time alone can lead to loneliness. And we're all somewhere in the introvert and extrovert spectrum. So we all need both, social time and personal time. Feeling alone can be a sign that, some of the important social or emotional needs are not met, right? So what can we do if we feel lonely? And what are the things we can do to help us to stay engaged? And so first of all, I think, be proactive and try to extend your network. Try to reach out to reach out to people as much as you can. The larger our network is, the more likely we can find the people we want to be close friends with. And I know it's difficult to extend our network under the current circumstances because we're all isolated in our own homes. And we're all learning the new ways to connect with others. The things we can try include, start or join interest group on platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, WeChat, TikTok, or whatever. Share our personal interests with like-minded people, help us to gain a sense of belonging. And also, I know GSA, Ansu International Study Melbourne, they offer a series of events to help students stay connected. And we're going to talk about these resources in the following part, right? And also, what you can do more recently is to deepen the relationship you already have. So there's a lot of research shows that loneliness is related more to the quality rather than the quantity of relationships. A lonely person feels, their relationships are not meaningful and they're not being heard or understood by others. So, we not only need friends to hang out with or do fun stuff with, but we also need friends who can listen to our struggles and be there with us when we're vulnerable. And without such connections, such friends, no matter how many friends we have, we may still feel lonely. Okay, so things we could try to deepen our existing relationship could be, maybe you have a flatmates. You can spend more time with your flatmates to know each other a bit more when when you have a lot of time in home with each other. Or, you can invite people in your cohort to start a Zoom study group so that you can support each other, keep each other motivated in studies, and have daily chat with each other. Or you can reach out more to your friends, to the friends you already have, sharing a bit deeper personal experience or emotions with them. Because close relationships are built on trust, understanding, and support. So opening up a bit more with some of the friends you trust can help you to deepen your relationship and help you to, cultivate the meaningful connections you want. And another existing relationship that was nurturing is our relationship with ourselves. So think about it. We spend 24/7 with ourselves. And if we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, then being alone means stuck with a person you don't like. And then who would enjoy that, right? So we're our own life partners. We go through this, life adventure together. And what are the qualities of a good life partner? They, probably need to be honest, non-judgmental, empathetic, supportive, and fun to spend time with. And we're all learning how to be a good life partner for ourselves. If we are a good life partner for ourselves, then we feel more comfortable with our time alone and more confident when we're facing challenges and changes in life, because we believe our life partner is accountable and they will be on our side no matter what. right? So how can we improve our relationship with ourselves? Well, the first step is to treat yourself the way you would treat a friend, right? How will you treat a good friend? You probably would be kind to them, be patient to them, listen to them, and spend quality time with them. Allow their healing, allow their feelings to be heard, right? And sometimes we try to hide or avoid our negative emotions, thinking, these emotions will go away if we just don't look. But unfortunately, emotions don't quite work like that. We need to allow ourselves to feel lonely before we can move on from it and cultivate more positive feelings. So think about it. If a friend approaches you and say, I'm feeling lonely, you probably wouldn't say, don't say that word. No, can't hear it. No, you're not. Don't be such a crybaby, right? So as a friend, you probably would say, it's okay to feel lonely. I feel the same sometimes. Do you want to talk about it? Right? So allowing yourself to feel the emotions can help you to stay engaged with yourself. And it can also help you to face and process the emotions you don't like and be able to finally move on from them. And also it's important to stay connected with ourselves, because if we don't, we tend to lose sight of a sense of purpose for life. And when we're disconnected with our purpose, we may not know what to do with our time alone, and we may feel lost, empty, and lonely when we're alone. So our time alone is actually a good opportunity to reflect what's important and meaningful for us and what's not. So it can help you to have a clear idea about our lives, about the purpose of our lives, so that we can gain a sense of direction and attract people with similar values. So think about it. Feeling alone means lacking a sense of belonging. But if we don't know what we want or what we like, or what's the purpose, or what our values are, then how can we find the right place to go or find the right group of people to surround ourselves with, to build a sense of belonging with? Right? So when we have a clear ideas about what's important to us, it can guide us to spend our time alone in a meaningful way. It could be learning new things we like, music, instrument, language, dancing, singing, video editing, writing, drawing, things like that, or doing things that can offer us a sense of fulfilling and achievement. So we do need that clear idea about ourselves to help us to guide our time alone. And lastly, I think it's quite important to ask for help. And there are many services out there ready for you to take advantage of. One of my favorite lines from Harry Potter is that help will always be given to those who ask for it. I don't have magic or superpower, and I assume most of you don't have magic or superpower. And that's why we need to rely more on our peers or on other people for help and support. Okay, so let me introduce you to some of the resources that you can access to stay engaged during isolation. So first of all, there's a program our university offers called the Social Breakouts. So if you Google Social Breakouts, UniMelb, you should be able to find this website. And you can register on this website for this program. And after you registered, you will receive the link for the Zoom sessions, and you can attend one or as many sessions as you like. And this program runs every Tuesday, Friday nights at 8 p.m. for an hour. It's already started. I think it started since week 3, August 18th. So it's already started, so feel free to check them out. And once you join the session, you will be randomly allocated to a group of 4 with an icebreaker to start. And then you will be put into a new group in every 15 minutes so that you get to chat with a lot of new people studying at this university. So I think it's a great opportunity to meet other students and start extending your network and see if you can, find people who you want to be close friends with. You never know. Like I mentioned earlier, the larger your network is, the more likely you will find the people you want to be close friends with, right? So I think this program is a pretty good program to help you to extend your network and meet new people. And also, I know that student organizations like UMSU and GSA have a lot of fantastic programs to help students stay engaged. So Andrew told me that GSA has, mindfulness sessions, yoga activities, art class, and a town hall discussion forum specifically designed to support international students. So I'll probably hand over to Andrew to talk more about GSA's program.
Yeah, so GSA have a series of social events that we run that are geared towards wellness activities, and also I think for the rest of the semester we're going to be trying to support international students as much as we can. So in 2 weeks' time, it's on the 8th of September, there's a town hall discussion for transition to work for international students. So I'll link that in the chat later on, but basically that discussion will be for international students to discuss how they've been feeling about, looking for work and navigating, like finishing studies and trying to find work after that. Also, Yang, we have a question in the Q&A, and I think it might be a good time to ask it. So the question was just, how do you manage the stress on physical well-being, and how do you adjust to the sudden changes in life?
The stresses on physical well-being, does that mean there's some physical symptoms of stress you experience, like headache, like chronic pain, or frequent colds? Is that the stress on physical well-being you meant?
Also, this is just the Q&A. For the person that I've asked this question for, if they could clarify, that would be great.
But it's perfectly normal to experience stress at this. How can we? Sorry, I just got distracted by another question. So I'll talk about how to make appointment with CAPS later on, but I want to address the first question. So like I mentioned, it's perfectly normal to experience certain levels of stress under the current circumstances. And stress can take forms of different can take different forms, like physical forms, like the headache, chronic pain, frequent colds I mentioned, and it can take emotional forms, like you may feel sad, frustrated, easily irritated when you feel stress. And also, there could be cognitive signs like memory issues or difficulties in making a sound decision. That could be, behavior signs like you find yourself constantly crying, or you find yourself kind of isolate yourself with other people. So stress can take different forms. So if you're talking about like physical forms, I think it's quite important, if it is caused by stress, it's quite important to identify what are the stresses you have in life, so that you can further think about, is there anything you can do to remove these stresses from your life, to solve these issues in your life. But in terms of like physical well-being, I think it's quite important to have like a healthy life routine. For example, getting sufficient amount of sleep, eating healthy, and getting regular exercise, and stay connected with your friends. These are the things can help us to maintain our physical well-being and also mental well-being, because physical well-being and mental well-being are definitely connected. We need to take good care of ourselves so that we can feel less stress under the current circumstances.
Just on the physical well-being, I think it was in terms of having headaches and physical ailments. I guess just like how stress can make us have headaches and stuff. I guess that was the question I was trying to say. But I'll let you continue as well. Sorry, thank you.
So I think, if you feel, there's the constant headaches you experience because of stress, there are some relaxation techniques or mindfulness practice that you can use to help your body to relax. Because when we're stressed, our body tends to, tense up, and that can cause physical pains. So this relaxation exercises and mindfulness practice can help us to relax our body. And if you're interested in finding more about these exercises, I'll talk about the resources available on our website in the later part. And also I can see another question about feeling homesick at the moment and sleep issues. So, like I mentioned, it's perfectly normal to feel homesick because, as an international student, we're kind of far away from our family, and we don't have like the support system we had at home. So it's quite normal to feel homesick. So I think it's quite helpful to think about what are the small actions that can help you to feel, kind of connected with your family and friends at home. For example, you can call them, maybe, reach out to them on social media, or, have a trivia night or, board game night with your friends or family, so that these like events can help you to stay connected with your family. We all need support from other people, no matter whether they're from family or friends or, support services. We all need support from other people. So I would recommend you to think about what are the small things you can organize to help you to stay connected with them. Okay. Lack of sleep or sleeping really, really late is the biggest challenge. Okay. So it sounds like the current changes had impact your sleep ritual. So if you Google, there's a lot of sleep hygiene tips that can be relevant and helpful for you. So if you Google sleep hygiene, you should be able to find a lot of resources. So I think, a lot of factors impact our sleep, our physical well-being, our mental well-being, and whether we have healthy sleep patterns or healthy sleep habits. These things all impact our sleep. I think, first of all, I think that the first step would be, take a look at the sleep hygiene tips and see, is there anything you can improve in terms of your sleep habits? And if the sleep issues continues, I do recommend you to book a session with GP at University Health Service so that you can further talk about, is there any somatic issues involved in this? And is there any need for medical intervention? Or you think it is more related to your mental well-being? Feel free to book an appointment with us so that we can further talk about, what are the contributing factors to your sleep issues and how can we solve them accordingly. Okay, and I hope that answers your question. Feel free to post, further questions if you feel, you need more information or clarification. All right. Okay, thank you for asking questions. I really enjoy your questions. These are important things. Okay. All right, so we've talked about, the activities and events provided by GSA, and also it's the same with ANSU. So this is ANSU International's website. So ANSU International is a section under ANSU, and it's for international students. I recommend you to take a look at the events they offer on their website. So you can just Google ANSU events, and it should lead you to the right place. And I know, last semester they had a program series called Stay Home, Stay Social, or Stay Home, Stay Connected. And it was worth checking whether they have similar programs this semester. And I find that it is quite helpful to, have an opportunity to chat with international students who are in the similar situation and share, experience with each other. How do you cope with the current situation and support each other along the way? So I do recommend you to have a look at what they offer on their website. And another major support service for international students is Study Melbourne, and they offer a year-round program of free events and confidential support services for international students. So for example, they offer free legal service on working and rent. They have webinars on virtual volunteering, building leadership, and public speaking. So, this is their website, same as, similarly, you can just Google Study Melbourne. You should be able to find their website. And also, I know that Origin, mental health support services for young people, they're organizing a peer support group to support international students' mental well-being. So they're currently recruiting peer support workers. So, sorry, let me go back to my slides. So this new program will be launched soon. So personally, I'm quite looking forward to this program because it offers the opportunity to hear from international students who share similar experiences in this lockdown. So I'm really looking forward to the support it could provide for the international student community. So I will recommend you to check Origin's website for further update on this program. It hasn't been launched yet, but I assume it will be launched soon because they're recruiting people at this stage. Okay, and now let me introduce you to the services my office provides. So my office is called Counseling and Psychological Services, short for CAPS. We provide short-term individual counseling for student and staff, and also we can also refer you to long-term counseling if we feel that's more beneficial for you. And because of the lockdown, our sessions now are conducted via Zoom. And if you want to book an appointment with us, you can either book on our website using your student ID and password, or you can just call our reception at this number here, 8344-6927, to book appointment. And for your first appointment in each calendar year, the booking system will only allow you to book for the openings in the next 24 hours. But it will be much easier for returning appointment after that. I think the system will allow you to see like openings in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So if you haven't used our service in the past, for the first session, I do recommend you to book as early as possible, so that if you book late, you probably will be disappointed because there's no appointment left. So I recommend you to check early in the morning. It usually go out pretty fast. And our working hour currently is from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. But if you need mental support services after business hours, our university also have this after-hour mental health crisis support service. You can call them at this number down here, 1300-219-459, or text them at this number, 0480-079-188. Okay, and apart from individual counseling, we have a series of webinars. So for example, we have Looking After Your Mental Health and Wellbeing webinar series, which covers a wide range of mental wellbeing topics such as managing change, setting boundaries, coping with loneliness, unhooking from unhelpful thoughts, and developing self-compassion. And we have Enhancing Learning series with topics like autism, focus and attention, procrastination, and exam anxiety. We have Anxiety Management series talking about social anxiety and how to break free from anxiety cycles. We have regular mindfulness programs. We have 2 types of mindfulness program. One is called Midday Mindful Moments, which runs every Wednesday and Friday over the lunchtime. It's more for people who are new to mindfulness practice, and this is a drop-in session. You don't need to, you don't need to commit like 6 sessions or more. And there's another program called Mindfulness for Stress Management for graduate researchers. You don't have to be a graduate researcher. It's also open for coursework, graduate student. So this one is a 6-week group program. So if you want to attend this program, it is required that you can commit 6 weeks, not 6 weeks, like 1 hour every week for 6 weeks for this program. All right, so we have these 2 mindfulness programs. And also we have a series of webinars for international students. So these workshops are designed for international students to share experience with each other, to smooth translations and to support each other. And at the same time, learn a thing or two about topics like coping with loneliness and managing expectations. And you can find the detailed information about all the webinars I mentioned earlier on our website. Okay, and I'll talk about our website in a minute. So other than the webinars, we also provide mental health trainings for students and staff. So for students, we have this blended mental health first aid training, which include online modules and a half-day face-to-face training. But well, the face-to-face session has been transferred online because of the lockdown situation. And also the online module for student training, I think it's an 8-hour online modules, and you need to do a lot of different readings and activities online. And after that, you will be having a online session with one of my colleagues for the rest of the training. And for staff, we provide training on mental health first aid and also on how to support students' well-being. And if you're interested in these trainings, you can also read more on our website. So let me show you what our website look like. Okay, so this is our website. If you just Google CAPS, C-A-P-S, UniMelb, you should be able to find this website. And you can book appointment here. As you can see, there are different tabs here: appointments, student workshops, resources, services for staff, emergencies. So you can book appointment here, and you can find detailed information about webinars here. You can explore helpful readings about mental wellbeing topics here, and you can discover commonly used mental health support services here. So I do recommend you to explore our website a bit if you have time afterwards. There are treasures in it. Okay, so you can just Google CAPS UniMelb for it. And other than my office, another commonly used health-related service is a university health service. They have GP, psychologists, and psychiatrists on site. So students with current Medicare card are bulk billed, so you don't have to pay anything. And it's the same for international students with BUPA. Students with other insurers may need to pay upfront and claim it afterwards, but always double check with your insurer if you're not sure about the cost. And also there are some services that's not covered by insurance, like vaccination. So if you're not quite sure about the cost for certain service, always double check with the reception of the university health services and your insurer. And also we have an office, we have chaplaincy. So chaplains, there are representatives of different faith groups in the wider community. So if you want to get information about different religions, different faiths, or you want to discuss your own values, beliefs, or faith, chaplaincy is the place for you. And the following is their website, or you can just Google Chaplaincy UniMelb, and you should be able to find their website. Okay, and yeah, that's it. Any questions or?
So we have a few, and thanks so much, Yang, for that presentation. I'll start off with, so how to deal with a sudden change in time difference when in a relationship. So I guess that might be one that is a long distance relationship that, that has a time difference.
That's a good question. You know, relationships are complicated. I don't know whether I have the answer for you, because you know every relationship is different, and if the sudden changes in time difference probably means reduced opportunity to communicate with each other. If that's the case, I think, you know, maybe it's up to two of you to decide, you know, whether we could arrange a time in a day that's we both feel comfortable with, so that we can talk and chat with each other in this agreed time. And also maybe explore other ways to stay connected with your partner. You know, I know a lot of students use WeChat, and there's like a friend zone on WeChat. You can post pictures and write things on this section in the app, so that you can, you know, stay connected, share your life with your partner, and interact with your partner in that way. But like I mentioned, relationship is complicated. Probably, in order to answer your question about how to cope with issues in a relationship, we'll probably need to talk about your relationship. You know, it's a case by case thing.
Yeah, of course. I guess even like it doesn't have to just refer to relationships. Even just like, I guess if you have a time difference with your family, like how to maybe cope with that if you're like, say, missing or feeling homesick and wanting to be able to, I guess, yeah, like be able to keep in touch with your family? Like, how do you navigate that kind of time difference, I guess?
Mm.
Interesting. Sort of
Like I
question.
remember, like I mentioned, I spent 2 years in the States, so there's a time difference between States and China. So most of my family
Yeah.
are in China. So I remember we use all kinds of things, like we email each other. I remember I receive email from my mom all the time, and she's kind of like threw me these emails bombs all the time. Um, yeah, so like I mentioned, probably explore different ways to stay connected with your loved ones back home.
Cool. And okay, there's a question, I think it's just about uni health services. So they asked,
Mm.
a teleconsultation with uni health services bulk billed by Allianz?
I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure about Allianz. I think so, but I think it would be safe to double check with Allianz, and also, you know, if you can call Uni Health Services reception, they should be able to answer this question for you. I know I'm not quite sure about Allianz, but I know that some insurers, they need the student to pay upfront, and you can claim that cost, that fee back afterwards. But I do recommend, if you want to find out this bit of information, I do recommend you to contact Allianz or Uni Health Services for that. But they offer teleconsultation for student now, so it's quite convenient. You don't have to be there in person. But I think you need to fill out like 3 forms before your first session. But you can find the detailed process for like what you need to do in the first session on their website.
Yeah. Thanks. And so how do you prioritize between studies and part-time jobs when everything seems important and it's difficult to meet deadlines?
That's a good question. So you know, we kind of juggle between different things, like we study, we work, some people volunteer, and also we have our own personal life and social life. So it's difficult to juggle between different roles and different aspects of our lives. So I think, first of all, it's quite important, like I said, it's quite important to reflect what you values, and based on your value, decide the priority for the things. For example, as an international student, if you feel like, okay, study is the most important thing, and with my current workload from the part-time jobs, it's kind of difficult to handle all the stress. Probably you need to think about reducing your working hours. And also, you know, a lot of time we feel stressed about our workload because we don't have the energy to deal with all the, you know, stresses in our life. So another thing we need to do is to take care of ourselves so that we can recharge our energy levels, so we have enough energy to deal with different challenges in life. Yeah, and for self-care, I think if you Google 50 ways to take a break, you should be able to find a picture. That picture provides a lot of good ideas about small things you can do to take care of yourself, like light a candle, buy yourself a flower, say something nice to yourself, engage in small acts of kindness, and, you know, talk with your friends or spend time with your pets. So that picture provides a lot of ideas about small things you can do to take care of yourself, and it doesn't require to spend a long time to do self-care. Yeah. So
So
yeah.
just a couple more questions, sorry. Any tips on dealing with heartbreak and living
Oh,
on your own? I guess just being in isolation and going through that must be
yeah.
difficult. But yeah, do you have any tips here?
I think breakup are, you know, difficult to handle because it's like a grief and loss experience, right? So you spend a lot of time, energy, and emotion in a relationship, and you treasure the connection you had with your ex. And so once that relationship ended, it's kind of like a grief and loss experience. I think, first of all, it's quite important to allow yourself to feel your feelings. Like I mentioned earlier in this presentation, a lot of times when we have negative feelings, we try to bury it or suppress it. But if you bury or suppress the emotion, you still carry that emotion with you. So I think it's quite important to channel out that emotion. So, things you can try include, write things down, or doing, activities that can give you a sense of closure, or talk to friends about your feelings. So these things helps you to channel out your emotion in a healthy way. And also, remember to stay connected with other people in your life. I know relationship is an important aspect of our life, but it's not the only thing in our lives. Remember the other, people in your life, like your family, your close friends. Stay connected with them and allow them to help you to move on from the relationship breakup. And also, if you feel needed, you can also make appointment with us, with mental health professionals, and we can help you to figure out ways to bring a closure and move on from the previous relationship.
And okay, so we got 3 more at the moment. So yeah, if anyone has any other questions or prefer to maybe just explain their question and like by talking about it, just feel free to raise your hand and we can let you talk. I'll ask. Okay, the first one I want to ask is one from Eliza. She's asking if there's any help or support if a student wants to go visit family and then come back, considering the situation with the borders. As she says, it seems it's unfair that we cannot go visit family as there is concern with coming back.
So sorry, I'm not an expert in this field. I don't know whether university have support services to help students visit their family, but I understand. I planned to visit my family at the beginning of this year, and that plan got cancelled and postponed to who knows when. So I know, you can feel frustrated and sad and upset about the current situation. I do recommend, if you want to find out more about that area, I think maybe Stop One is a good place to contact so that they can give you more information in terms of supporting services for that. Andrew, do you know any other services or resources?
Yeah, I don't know. I think would Study Melbourne have pretty good knowledge about like how to receive assistance there? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, definitely. Study Melbourne may have, resources about that. So if you just Google Study Melbourne, you should be able to find their website and you can book appointment with them and you can attend their sessions. Yeah.
I'm just thinking Study Melbourne resources in the chat now. So yeah, feel free to look there. So the next question we have is there any reference or standard operating procedures for health first responders in case of any emergency? I feel like this is something that isn't really a CAPS thing. Maybe we can consider as GSA to hold like health services related education webinars in future. But I think that might not be something that CAPS can answer. The next one we have is I'm lacking motivation and this is making me more stressed. So are there any tips for that in terms of stress and dealing with motivation?
And first of all, I want to say, you probably wouldn't find you are the only one experience this. I work with a lot of students in individual counseling sessions, and a lot of them said, it's a bit hard for them to keep motivated in things like studies or life. So, it's quite common nowadays that students experience difficulties with motivations. So I think, first of all, it's still a case-to-case scenario. So we need to talk about, what had impact your motivation. But I think general theories, when we kind of lack motivation, it could be due to multiple things. For example, the disrupted life routines. So before the lockdown, we were able to do a lot of things, like we can study in a library with our friends. We can, hang out with our friends. We can, go to gym for exercise. So these life routines help us to be motivated, and because a lot of these routines have become difficult, if not impossible nowadays. So it's hard for us to keep motivated. So first thing, maybe think about how you can rebuild your life routine. If you can't go to the gym, maybe, think about what are the exercises you can do in your own house, and is there any online community can help you to to exercise regularly? And if we can't go to the library, is there anything I can do to create a study space in my home so that I feel more, I can get more library vibe in this study space? Or can I start a study group with my cohort so that it's kind of simulate what we did in the library, study together. So first thing is that we need to think about how we can recreate or rebuild our life routines to be motivated. Another thing I think is that we need to give ourselves permissions to feel tired or not wanting to do things. And like I mentioned, it's totally normal to experience that lately. And also think about I feel less motivated to do things. Is it because I don't have the energy? If it is the energy level issue, then probably I need to think about how to recharge my energy level, recharge my battery by doing things that will take care of myself. Or do I feel less motivated because I'm not used to the online teaching format? Or if that's the case, you can think about what are the resources I can access that can help me to get used to the online teaching format, or can I, talk more with my cohort to see how they cope with the online teaching format. So like I said, it's like a case by case scenario. It requires us to think about what triggers this reduced motivation and think about solutions accordingly. But I think, in general, self-care is important. Rebuilding life structure, life routine is important, and think about the resources you can use and ask for help is important. Yep. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, Yang. So only one more now, but I think it's been great to hear all these responses. I think it's been very helpful for everyone listening. So yeah, thanks a lot for your time. So the question we have here is, I'm sleeping a lot to escape the reality and deal with never-ending commitments, but it just makes the situation worse. Are there any suggestions to help with this?
So it sounds like you're using sleep as a coping strategy because you kind of feel, overwhelmed by the commitment you carries. So sleep is actually a coping strategy you use to help yourself to feel less anxious about the current situation. So I don't know what are the commitments you have, but if you feel overwhelmed by the commitment, one thing to think of is that, can I share the responsibility with someone else, or can I reduce reduce the time I spend on some of the commitment? That's one thing you can think of, and I know some of the times we can't get rid of, we can't say give up these commitments. So that will be, think about, is there any other coping strategies other than sleep I can go to? Because sleep, think about the functions sleep serve you. It's kind of help you to not face the commitment, right? So is there anything else you can think of that you can do to help you to feel less anxious about the commitment you need to face? For example, some people use gardening as a coping strategy. So when they feel anxious about their commitment, when they feel overwhelmed, they do gardening. Or some people use cooking, or some people use knitting. So we all need to explore what are the coping strategies that will work for us, that's suitable for us. So I don't, sleep is a good strategy, but if you find yourself asleep for prolonged period of time and it kind of gets in the way of your study and other things, maybe you need to think about what are the more healthy ways. But it's a very personal thing. Like one man's meat could be another man's poison. So it's quite important to explore what are the other coping strategies can be more helpful for you. And if you need help exploring the suitable coping strategies for you, feel free to book an appointment with us. Okay.
Thanks, Yang. Yeah, I think that's all we've got for today in terms of questions. So yeah, thanks so much for being involved. Okay, we do have another question right now. Sorry, I live in a student accommodation in a single room, and it's been extremely difficult to study or work, and even keep the two separately being in the room today. So just keeping, like, I guess just study and work balance there. Everything is just blended into one. So how do I build a structure in my day? It's a very big question.
I live in a pretty small apartment. Here it's a one bedroom apartment, and I tend to work in a living room, and I do other things in my bedroom. So I think it's, and also when after a day of work, I tend to go out for a walk. It's like a ritual for me to show myself it's end of your work, and then you have your personal time. And night, this short work after a long days of work helped me to separate my personal time and professional time. So we all need like structures, and we all need things that can help us to separate our personal life and professional life. I know it's a bit tricky to separate things when you're living in a pretty small space, but I think you can, for example, if you're living in a studio, you can decorate a corner of that room to be your study space. Like decorate that space with things that will remind you of study, remind you of library, remind you of your cohort, these things, so that you can get the study vibe in this corner. And try not to do anything else in this corner. This corner is reserved for study. So that will help you to physically separate study and other things. And also like small activities, go out for a walk between activities you planned. These things may also help you to separate personal life and professional life.
Thanks. So they also said thanks to Yuyang for the presentation. I guess I'll extend that thanks on behalf of everyone today. Okay, we do have another question, but I'll just say this first. Yeah, thanks again. Letting everyone know that there's a art class at 2 p.m. that GSA are running. So all you need for that art class is just a pen and paper, and it's just drawing. So if you have the time and want to take a break from study for a moment, you can join that. I'll just send that through in the chat. Do you think you have time for another question, Yang?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna say it now. So, hi Yang, my plan has been totally destroyed due to COVID-19. I lost my job, which I'd been working really hard to get, and it is a step for me to apply for PR. I don't really know what PR is.
Permanent residency.
Oh, of course. Sorry, for not understanding that.
No, that's all right.
And I don't know if I should still stay in Australia or just leave. But if I leave, has all the effort been for nothing?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you lost your job. I know, it's kind of challenging to get a job, and you probably feel quite frustrated when you lost a job, and it could be a big barrier for you to apply for PR afterwards. And I think what you mentioned is decision making process, how to make decisions in dilemmas. It's not easy. It's not easy making a decision in dilemmas. So I do have a reading for you. It's called sorry, let me double check. It's a pretty good reading. It's by Ross Harris, who is a pretty famous psychologist who developed ACT, which is an approach that commonly used in counseling. So he wrote a tip sheet for making decisions in dilemmas. So let me quickly check the name for this tip sheet so that I can put in the chat. So if anyone has questions about making decisions in dilemmas, these tip sheet will be quite helpful. Sorry, just give me a minute to find this tip sheet. Yes, so it's called 10 steps for any dilemma. So let me put, so if you just Google this name, you should be able to find this tip sheet. Here. So this is the name for the tip sheet, 10 Steps for Any Dilemma, by Ross Harris.
Cool, and I can send that to everybody
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
chat. I'll send it in the chat now. This is the link, but yeah, of course as well. I'll just email it to everyone who's been in attendance, just so that you have access to that later on. But yeah, that's a really good resource. Thanks for that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll take this as the last question, and yeah, thanks to everyone for being so involved and engaged in this webinar. But and thanks as well to Yang for being with us today. So how do you draw a line to push yourself to meet the deadlines, or should I be listening to my mind and take a break? Sometimes I am not able to focus on my thesis writing for nearly a week. Are there any suggestions of where to draw a line there, I guess, in terms of study and balancing life as well?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky, isn't it? Like there's two types of things. First is called self-care, and then another thing called procrastination. These two things can be exact the same activity. For example, when I think about, okay, I need to take a break, I need to, play a game for a while, or watch a TV shows for a while, and these could be self-care or procrastination. So the differences between self-care and procrastination is, first, the purpose of doing this activity is different. So if it is self-care, the purpose of doing it is to help yourself to to recharge your battery so that you can return to work in a more energetic manner. And if it is a procrastination, then the purpose of doing it is to run away from something, is to avoid doing something. And so it is quite important to ask yourself, am I doing this so that I can return to work in a better state? Or am I doing it because I just, I feel anxious about it, I want to run away from it? And also the second differences between self-care and procrastination is that for self-care, usually you can control how long you put into this activity. And for procrastination, it's hard for you to control. You can easily spend a whole afternoon on procrastination. But for self-care, if you say, I'm going to play a game for an hour or two, you will stop at that point and you will go back to work. So if you find yourself, difficult to stop what you do to relax, then it's probably a procrastination. And also, after self-care, you tend to feel relieved, happy, and refreshed. But after a procrastination, you tend to feel guilty, ashamed, or even more anxious. So we need to be able to tell the difference between these two things and ask yourself, am I doing it to take care of myself so that I can do my work more productively, or am I doing it to run away from it? If the answer is yes, I'm doing it to take care of myself, then go ahead and do it. If the answer is no, I feel like I'm trying to run away from the work because I feel anxious about it, then we need to do something to stop procrastination. And there is a webinar my office provide on how to overcome procrastination. I think it's early September. September 1st or 2nd. I can't remember it clearly. But if you find I kind of struggle with procrastination, that's a pretty good webinar for you to go. Hope that answers your question.
Thanks so much, Yang, for today.
Yeah,
and
you're
yeah,
welcome.
we went slightly over time here. So yeah, it's really sunny outside today where I am. So hopefully if you've got the time to go for a socially distanced and masked up walk, everyone can do that in the time. Yeah, and hopefully everyone has a really nice day. And thanks for being involved in the webinar today. As I said, there's an art class at 2 p.m. if you want to join. And what else do I have to say? I'll email everyone a link to future CAPS workshops and sessions as well, and the GSA will be running 2 more for the rest of the semester with them. So yeah, all that information, you can find that out on the GSA website, all the other things. So yeah, thanks for joining us again today.